Okay, let's start by setting our standing posture then. That's better. So we've got our feet to roughly hip width apart. We're going to spread out the toes, make a nice connection down to the floor through our feet. Not just the toes, of course, the whole of the foot area. And then we're thinking of lifting and lengthening up through the crown of the head. So we're nice and tall, but without being tense and rigid. So let's just relax the shoulders a bit, soften the knees, and bring the hands onto the belly. So we're just starting to come into our breath connection. So it's just noticing that nice, easy, natural, gentle, normal, everyday breathing that we're doing just without being aware of it. So it's just bringing our attention and connecting to that. Okay, letting the arms relax down then, gently dropping the chin towards the chest and then lifting up and lengthening away there. Dropping down, lifting and lengthening. So we'll just take our first couple of minutes to come into this nice little gentle mobilise, easing our way through all of the joints that tend to feel tightness. So from this one, we're going to come back and line up over the shoulders now. Let's go side to side, so just have a little look over. Again, it's just nice and gentle, but it is slightly encouraged, turning the head one way then the other. After this one, we come back and we're then going ear up to the ceiling, anchoring the shoulder in place by keeping the arm out in that little diagonal press away. Helps to keep a little bit of extra length into the neck. So we're just going to do another couple of those. And then on the next one, let the arms relax and very gently roll the head through, have a look over the shoulder, come back down around, have a look over. And we'll just do one more of those each way. So quite slow, nice and controlled, and then back into the middle and back up to nice and tall. Holding the head still then, squeeze the shoulders, lift them up, curl them forwards and roll them down. So it's quite a nice warming movement, this one. And also just really feeling that contrast between squeezing here and then stretching through there. Really nicely loosens off those shoulders. So we're going to take it back the other way. Do the same thing happening around the other way. Again, just really nice for loosening those shoulders, of course. Couple more times, still with just an awareness of breathing here. And we'll go one more time into the back, so shoulders sliding down and just nice and relaxed there. Hands then onto the ribs as we just slide through the hips. So we're aiming to send the hip down but keep the ribs fairly still, so we get this nice lengthening here and here, and also into the low back, which is quite a nice little release, gentle release for that. We do a last couple of those, and then we go the other way with the hips, of course, which is back and forward. So again, it's that little bit of stretching into the low back. So of course, we want to ease ourselves gently into movement before we go into our bigger strength work. So we're just doing a couple of those, and then focusing on finding that neutral position, so settling back into centre, hips level. We're going to rise up then onto the tiptoes, so just floating up and away, coming down nice and slowly as well, and then flexing into those feet to get that nice strong activation. So floating up, floating down, and flexing. And then we'll just let the arms come up with us as well, so up to the side, close together as we float down, and release as we flex. And we'll just do a couple more of those. Just keeping eye gaze nice and steady, so you've got that focal point in front of you. We're thinking just again awareness of breath, and mainly working very slowly to challenge our balance. Okay, final one, bring it through, and there. Planting the feet, this time the arms are coming up through the front into our little swing. We're going to reach up, open the arms and come out, whoops, a bit close to the wall, into a little twist. Bring the arms back up, take a little swing through, open the arms again, palms up. And this time we twist the other way first. So we're alternating the twist start side, just because it gives us a nice even amount of work. So open out there, come into a little twist, reach back up and swing, and then we're going to twist to the other side first. As always with twisting, knees should be slightly soft, stay fairly stable. Now we're just going to do one more of those to either side. So I'm doing my right to left, and then I'll finish with my left to right, swinging through here. Take it up, open and twist, and then we come back to centre for one final swing, and then we reach up and we let those arms come out. So nice big stretch through there. Step the feet out and take a nice easy twist here, just to finish off that loosening and reconnect the body all together again, as we've done all that separate work. Now we're just bringing a nice fluid movement to the whole body coming together. So just a couple more of those, and then we come back to centre and take a little relax there. Give the shoulders a little roll, shake out the arms and legs, and then reset your posture, because we're going to go into a little bit of upper body posture work just to start with. So I've got feet hip width, little bit of a knee bend, neutral pelvis of course, and I'm bringing my hands in for this one, so palms facing up towards the ceiling. Okay, so I'm going to turn out, so I'm drawing my thumbs back, opening the chest and activating the shoulders, and then close together. So open out as you exhale and inhale there. So we just do a couple of warm-up ones here where we're opening out. Try and keep the elbows quite close in there. So it's the back of your shoulders that is turning your hands out just as far as they can. Then we're going to add a little stretch away. So as I stretch out, I don't want to do this, so it's keeping shoulders down, drawing back in and closing together. So we open, we slide without hunching, that's where the shoulder control comes in, and then in together and back. So turn out just as far as you can, slide away but keep those shoulder blades down your back, draw together, close, and we're just going to take another couple of those. Stretch, draw and return. So open out here, this will be the last one. Stretch away, come back in, elbows close to ribs, and then return the hands to the start. Let the arms relax down, give them a little shake out. It should have just nicely activated the shoulders without being super fatiguing. We're coming down to the floor now, so I'm just going to angle my camera. Come on down, bring any props with you that you normally use. Grab a drink on the way down as well if you need that. And of course, make sure that as you come to the floor, you're coming into a nice comfortable position. So we're going to be thinking head either on the mat or on support, if that's what you normally need to have. But then it's knees bent, feet on the floor. Yeah, normal relaxed position. So once we're down here then, hands come onto the belly and we start to come straight back into that breath connection again. So I'm just noticing my normal natural breath, just for a couple, just maybe 3 or 4 breaths will do, just to bring that focus. And then of course I start to make it a little bit deeper. So we inhale, feel the belly rise, exhale, encourage away. You get that natural bracing feeling, which is of course what we're after. So relaxing the arms away down to the side. I'm going to float up into a single leg position. I'm just going to shuffle back a little bit. There is a 2-leg version of this as well. I'm picking up the opposite arm. We're going long first, so as we breathe out, I'm thinking of creating length, stretching the fingers and toes away from one another. As we come up to the top, inhale there, and then holding stability as we drop out into a lateral leg with the arm going the opposite way, of course, as well, and then back up to the top. So breathe out, lengthen the stretch away. Breathe in, come back. Breathe out as you go into the lateral position. Breathe in as you come back, and just keep working through that pattern, maybe up to about 10-ish, maybe a couple more. You can do this with a double tabletop position, so if you're normally working there, it would just be alternated, of course. So I'm going to do stretch away, right leg, left arm. I'm going to stay with right leg, left arm as I go lateral, but then I'm going to go to the other side. So left leg, right arm. That's the only difference really. The challenge is the same. Maintain stability in the lateral positions and focus on creating length in the straight forward positions. Okay, they're looking good, very nice. So I'm going to let you keep working. I think you're probably all still on your first side. You've probably still got a few to do there. So yeah, just think about, it really sort of brings into focus all the important things for Pilates here. So we've got to think about the stability, which comes from keeping the pelvis stable, keeping the ribs connected. We've got the breath connection with this one, and we've got a bit of stretching and mobilizing, but also some nice controlled work too. So a little bit of everything going on. They're looking good. So of course, with the options as well, you may do mostly single leg work and then jump into some double work. So you can play around with that. You don't necessarily have to just do one or the other. I think you're well into your second side by now. So when you've finished, of course, you'll be just coming down into your rest phase. If you're still going, don't panic. I'll give you plenty of time. So you've got time to get through the amount that you want to do. Okay, so of course when we do come to rest, it may be that we're taking that time to do some stretching, release the low back a little bit. That's probably where most people need to go. Or it could always just be resting, really nicely going into the breath for a moment, being very still. That's quite nice, especially in the middle of a busy day, to have that little moment of stillness. Okay, I think we're all done. It looks like we've all had a bit of rest time too. So we're going to come into some twisting work here, and if you've got something that you can use for a knee prop, you're going to grab that and use that. So just a cushion or whatever you normally use. We've got feet together for this one, so your ankles are stuck together, your knees are stuck together, apart from, of course, they're holding your little prop, whatever that is. We're going to stretch the arms away to the side, so palms are facing up, and I'm nice and relaxed in the shoulders here. So you may even have to just consciously let go of any tension in your chest so that the shoulders can fall back. So everything's relaxed, but then we put tension into the knee prop. So you're trying to squash it quite hard, quite firmly, squeezing. And then as we breathe out, we maintain that knee squeeze as we roll the knees over to the side. The head is turning the opposite way, and then we inhale back to center and we turn. So we're staying on the feet essentially, but we're really rocking from ankle to ankle. So you don't stay on the soles of your feet, they actually lift as you roll to the ankle. And if you want a bit more challenge there, then you can let the top leg drift out like that. So you're doing a leg extension, but I'm still squeezing quite firmly onto the knee prop, and then back in, and then same to the other side. There. And you can just go as far as your back will let you. You can, of course, make hip rolls more challenging by picking the feet up, and that would be here, position 1, which is quite tucked in, so my knees are a bit more over the tummy and my feet are tucked in. And again, I could roll from that position, keeping the legs still, or I can add the top leg stretch out as well. And then if I want to go super, super challenging, it becomes tabletop position. So instead of knees over tummy, knees over hips. And I'm in that right angle position that we use for a lot of our other work. Much more challenging, of course, because the weight of the leg position has changed. And again, you can even do a single leg extension with that one as well. but it's all going to depend. Oh, so I can do that one, but I know I can't go as far with it. So it's probably going to be playing around with the different options and finding where is the right amount of challenge, but where you also get a good twist with it as well. And then not forgetting the bit we started with, the knee squeeze, because that's giving us much stronger inner thigh and pelvic floor activation, which of course affects all of that deeper abdominal stuff as well. Okay, they're looking good. So I'm going to say probably another few more. I'm going to give you a little bit longer if you are still going. Very nice. If you have finished, or when you do, then of course you're just coming into your nice rest phase again, whether that's just stillness and breathing or doing some stretching. Lovely. So from here, we're coming over into our side lying work. This week it's a side leg circle. Slightly different feel, probably to a lot of the other work, because instead of using hand for optional support, we use the bottom leg and we play around with the position of it. So whenever we come to side lying, of course, the first thing I always mention is making sure the head is comfortable. So whether that's a straight or bent arm or extra padding in there is fine. We will start by checking we're in a straight line, but then we bend the bottom leg in. And I'm going to bend mine quite a lot for the demo because I know I'll topple over otherwise, but you can play around with this. And if you don't need as much support, then your leg would slide out into a straighter position. And it's because we're not using the hand. This arm is going straight up. I'm having a relaxed, flexed foot, so I'm not pointing, I'm not forcing the flex, but it is naturally there. We go backwards first, keeping a nice straight leg, and then we come up and over the top as high as you can, so everybody's will be slightly different there. As far forward as you can without, of course, toppling, so controlling that, and then back round. Once you get going, it should be a little bit more fluid as you just try and make as big a circle as you can. So I'm going to go a couple more that way. I would say somewhere between about 5 and 10 going this way. So you're probably just coming up to about 5 now. So depending on how fatigued that is, you might add a few more in, but save some because you'll need to, of course, do the reverse, which is kicking forward, up, oh, and a little bit far on that one, not quite so far to the back, and around. Like I say, if it feels quite steady in this bent leg position, you could make it much more difficult by straightening out a little bit, much wobblier as the leg gets straighter, of course. So up to you. Like I say, somewhere between probably about 5 and 10, but as always, see how you go, see how it feels. Okay, they're looking good. And it's not that we don't want to wobble at all, you know, you probably will shift your position a little bit and wobble a little bit. As long as you're not actually toppling over, then that's kind of the aim, I suppose, is probably to be a tiny bit wobbly, but ultimately feel like you're in control of your position. Whereas if you're actually toppling, like I did, when the leg went too far, then I know that's just that little bit too far. Okay, as always with side work, when you have finished, and that's all going to be different times for everybody, but when you are done, you're going into your normal stretch, so legs lengthen away, hand over head on the wrist, and then pulling over there. And we might stay in that stretch position for just a few breaths to help really encourage it, really feel our way into it, and also spend that little bit of extra time deeper breathing. Okay. Once we've had a good old stretch out there, we've really felt that nice little thing, we're going to push ourselves up to seated position, and we're going to pause briefly here while we come into a little bit of twisting. And we're going to do quite a specific controlled twist today, so just sit as comfortably as you can. It doesn't really matter which position your legs are in as long as it's comfy, but we're sitting up nice and tall, and we're going into our Cossack arms twist today. So this is hands a little bit lower. It's easier to see from the side, but I've dropped, so I'm not completely at shoulder height, just again to try and prevent this happening, but also not work the shoulders too much. So slightly down. When I go to the right, I've got the right arm on top and I'm exhaling. As I inhale, I'll just slide the left hand on top and turn, breathe out. So I'm coming round, and all of this is staying lined up, hopefully. So you can see I'm in the twisted position here, and I've got the arms, the body, the head all lined, and we keep that nice flow, but also that very precise position as we work. So inhale to prepare, exhale, turn, encourage, 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 as far as you can. Inhale back, just slide the hand over the top, exhale, encourage the twist, inhale back, and so on. So it's not super technical, but it's just really trying to feel that center movement rather than feeling the arms or the head. They go with you, and it's the body that takes you there. And that's the key sort of feeling with this one that we're after, is making the centre do the work rather than the arms or the head. Okay, they're looking good. So if you're still going, I'd say probably just a last couple. When you do come down, give the shoulders a little wriggle, as we normally do. Hopefully they're not feeling too much there, but they will get some more stretching in a bit as well. And we'll head on over to the other side to rebalance ourselves with our legs circling. So as always, find your best head support position. Make a straight line, but then bend your bottom leg into where you think your support will be. Take that hand away, a relaxed, flexed foot position, and then we start going back. Find that line of where you're just about to topple. That's where you then come up into the lift, around to the front. Same thing at the front. How far can you get before you topple, and you can just about control. And then we go through. Woo, that was probably a little bit slow, but you don't have to go as slow as that. I always do my demos not really slow, but once you get going, it probably is a little bit more fluid than that. We get a nice circle going on. We don't want it to be super speedy, because we want to try and take momentum out of the work. We want the hip to be really feeling that work, but probably not quite as slow as mine was. Somewhere between 5 and 10 each way, of course, and stretching as soon as you get to the end, which you won't be there yet, but when you are. Okay, they're looking good. The size of the circle as well, totally up to you, just as much as your hip will let you do, really. They're looking good, well done. Breathing, just in your own pattern, find a nice rhythm of breath to work with. We're nearly there. So when you're done, you're stretching for a few breaths, and then you can just be resting, and I think we're nearly all there. So once we're done on that, I'll be getting you to turn over. So we'll be working on our tummies, focusing on our shoulder work for a moment. So if you need to take a bit of time to come over and set your position, that's fine. If you have been using a bit of additional head support, then bring that with you. You'll need a little bit more space sort of in front of you with this one. We're going into the Cobra. So this is a little bit bigger arms than most of the others. So you'll see I've sort of shuffled back a bit because I need to get my arms out here at the front. Whereas we tend to be more out the side usually. So for this one, again, with most of the work, we don't want to be completely like stuck down here. So I lift up the chest a little bit and also keep the head slightly away. Palms are facing in, thumbs are pointing up. And for the single arm, I'm going to lift one arm, open it out, and I'm aiming to get this sweep here so the thumb stays up. So hopefully you can see there, my palm is facing you rather than turning under. I'm going to turn out and then come in there. Do the other side, of course. Squeeze back. And then if you're doing both arms, they both do the same thing at the same time, of course. There. Breathe out, breathe in. You might have to play around with the breathing. Don't worry too much about the pattern of breath as long as you're not holding it. It's quite hard to breathe in face down position anyway, especially when there's a lot of pressure in the chest and the tummy. Particularly that happens in two arm work, of course. If you're going with the head support, so if you do need to take anything away from the neck or the low back, it's the same thing. I've just got a little rolled up cushion here. So I'm still in the same position, but I'm supporting the forehead. The movement again, you could do that one-armed or two-armed. Like I say, that's really an option for anybody with niggly neck or back. If not, it's good practice to be holding the head up. As long as you're not jutting your chin forward, always have a slight chin tuck to keep a good neck position. So we're doing as many as we can. We've got our choice of single arm or double arm. And of course, alternating. It won't always be just one of those. That's quite often the case with our front lying shoulder work. It is always going to be challenging because it's working into those upper back and shoulder muscles. But it's finding the right level of challenge that's important. Okay, they're looking really nice. It is tricky with this one. You're trying to keep that thumb turning up, and that outer hand position is not always where the shoulders want to go, but it's so opposite to where we spend most of our time with the hands turned inwards and forwards. Now we're turning outwards and backwards, of course. Now, when you do get to the end, you'll be resting for a moment. So just soften, find your spot, your comfy position. Just take a few nice, easy breaths while everyone's finishing off their last few. Okay, so if you haven't already, you're going to place one hand on top of the other now. Allow your forehead to rest onto there. So this is now not so much about if you've got a niggly neck, it's just the best position for your head whilst we are focusing on the lower body. So I've moved back forward again to give my legs a bit more space. So in this position, we will try and have a little bit more breath focus probably here because there's a bit less pressure. So as we inhale, feel the ribs expand, exhale, encourage away. And I'm going to start quite simply with a single leg swim. So just imagine somebody's holding both ankles, but just one at a time they're pulling the leg. So I'm going left leg first, stretch away, squeeze the bum, float up, release down. That's where a lot of our front lying leg work starts. And then the other leg, stretch away, squeeze and float. And then we would just alternate. So that's option one, alternating swimming legs, focusing on the stretching as much as you are the lifting. Then to make that more challenging, as the one leg is on its way down, we would pick up the other leg. So then both legs are working at the same time, but we're making it a bit more complex than just doing a double leg lift. because we're doing this sort of scissor pattern, so that's much harder. And then the other thing we can chuck in with this one is a little bit of a leg flutters, which is the same movement but faster, to try and get into those bum muscles a little bit more strongly. So I'll do a few fast flutters, and then I'll go back into the slow lifts, either the singles or the alternating scissors. The bum muscles will recover a little bit, and then we'll go back into the few fast flutters. It's hard to say that one. And I might repeat that sequence a few times. So slow, then fast, then slow, then fast. Maybe 3 or 4 times through that sequence. And they're all essentially doing the same thing. They're all firing up the bum muscles. They're all challenging our front lying stability position, of course. Because when we're doing the legs, and especially when they're going fast, you're trying to feel the legs are moving, but that's not then shaking you around on the mat, and you're able to maintain a very stable body without feeling like your legs are pushing you around on the mat, which is what happens when we don't have that control. So I can't see anybody doing that, so really good. Okay. So, like I say, once you've been through that sequence probably 3 or 4 times, you will be really starting to feel that fatigue into the bum muscles. And we always, you know, either on our hands or on our elbows or on our tummies, we always work our bottom muscles at some point here in some way. But I think this is probably one of the few where you really feel them getting that fatigue. We quite often feel that in other muscles, but it's a bit harder in the bottom muscles because they're the biggest muscles. So once we've done all of that, of course, we need to have a little shake out before we move on. So we're just tucking the toes under, we're having a little wiggle of the hips, a nice, easy, relaxed rock. Same with the legs, let them have a little release out as well. Once we've done all of that, we'll be coming up to stretch out for a minute. So bring the hands in. Roll yourself up, and just in your own time, work through your own favoured pattern of cat to cow, probably a couple of times, some sideways hip sliding, or probably a couple of times, and then a bit of a mixture of all of those 4 different positions. But you'll know where you'll normally go, and the aim is just really to feel your way through that. Up and down, side to side, combining them, breathing nice and easily as we do it. Once we have done a bit of that, hands go forward, elbows are soft, and we're either into high hips, or if you're comfy in child's pose, you might like to slide back down there for a moment. Either way, take a couple of breaths and really feel those shoulders lengthening. Okay, so we're going to use the hands for support as we pop ourselves back up. So bring the hands in, roll yourself up. Once you get up here, we're going to head on back to the mat for our sort of finishing section. So grab your head support, maybe give the shoulders a roll, grab a drink on the way over, and then just come on down to the mat and get yourself ready back into normal, natural, resting, neutral position. So I've got knees bent, feet on the floor, shoulders are relaxed, head may or may not be supported, whatever's your favoured position. Hands onto the tummy as we start to think about breathing again. And we're coming into that deeper, more connected Pilates breath, hopefully. So from here, the hands are now going to hover just above the chest, and we're coming into this very much opening up of the shoulders, saluting movement. So I start by taking the hand up as if to salute, but instead of stopping at the forehead, sweep over the top, and you're trying to get the back of your hand there. So I've got my hand out, you can't quite see it, but This arm is sort of floating in the air, but the hand is connected down. I'm going to sweep that out to the side and then take the other one and then sweep that out to the side. If you haven't got space for the big sweeps, or your shoulders feel odd in that position, you can just go literally back and forward, back and forward. But what we're really trying to get here is, as we come back, connect the ribs down. So your arm will be trying to pull you up and you're trying to keep your ribs connected to the mat. And we'll try and, of course, maintain that through both sides, while at the same time here, getting your arm as far back to the floor as you can. If you're normally doing legs, you've probably added them already. So I demoed it with no legs, but of course we'd normally do a single or a double tabletop here for extra challenge. So you can play around with your leg positions. You don't have to, you could rest your legs down. That would be fine. If you're doing singles, of course, make sure you change after a few so that you've done some both sides. If you're doing doubles, you could even try a little straight leg extension. There, so I'm holding a slightly forward straight leg position, and that's always going to be slightly more challenging than like the basic double tabletop. Okay, so not really doing a set amount here. It's just really about getting into those shoulders. They get a massive stretch and release with this one, although at the same time it is quite a strong core movement as well, especially if you're doing double legs. So you can get out of that, the focus that you want really. If you know your shoulders are tight, like mine are, that's why I like to do it with no additional challenge, and I kept my feet on the floor. But if you want that extra challenge, you've got it with the legs. So we'll take probably a few more here, another last few repetitions, I think. They look nice. So yeah, hopefully after that, the shoulders do feel very much like they've been through their full range of movement, maybe even more so than when we do just circling, which is very, very stretchy, but the arm position of this makes everything open a bit more. Okay, that is nice, well done. So from there, you've already had a little bit of a stretch and release, so we're going to slide back into knees bent, feet on the floor position. We're going to grab our knee props and we're going to roll our spines in shoulder bridge before we finish off. So grab your knee prop, pop it into place, set your position and reconnect into your breathing. Nice relaxed arms, I would say here to start with, as you focus on rolling. So we're lifting tailbone and we're pushing through the hips. So it's another good exercise for activating the bum muscles, strengthening up those glutes, but then you've got all this extra stuff happening as well. So on the way down, we're starting at shoulders, coming through ribs, through lower spine, trying to keep the tailbone off the floor for as long as you can, and that's your basic shoulder bridge up and down. Most of you then will probably add some variation to that. So it could be what you're doing with your arms. They've just had a good stretch, so they might feel a little bit more mobile here. So you might like to leave them out behind you or bring them over with you as you come down. We'll circle them around, it's fine, whichever you prefer. If you're getting into leg work and you've got a knee prop there, I would start with the arms by the side to give you a bit of stability. Try extending one leg away there so it goes on a straight line and then slides back in. But hopefully what we're aiming for there is that we're very, very still. So the leg moves, but there's not really any shifting of the position anywhere else. To add challenge to the leg work, if you do need even more than that, I would try an opposite arm stretch. So as you stretch one leg away, the opposite arm goes. And then if you've got that nailed, both arms go back. My demo is not so good in the two arm. It's much wobblier to do it without support. And then of course you'll come down. Now I did loads of legs all in a row there. Normally we would come up and down in between the work. but just to make the demo easier, I did it all in one go. But that again would be another way of making it more challenging, would be less of the spinal rolling and more of the challenging work. And of course you can mix and match with shoulder bridge. There are so many variations of it, but ultimately we want to get that feel that we have moved and mobilised the spine, and that's what we get from the rolling up and down. And then the arms and the legs, like I say, they're just ways of making it harder, making the muscles work more. But the essential element is the rolling, and that's what we're really after. Okay, they're looking good. Right, we're all right for time, so I'm going to give you a little bit longer on the shoulder bridging. So if you are still going, that is fine, keep working. Okay, lovely. So I think it looks like we're pretty much getting to the end of shoulder bridging. So when you're done, just coming down to rest, relax, we're going to take a bit of a stretch together and then we'll be done. So first of all, thinking about bringing the knees in. So lift them up, support them, but I wouldn't hug them in too tightly. Try and keep the hips fairly relaxed.